Hi, I'm Giovanni, a full-time engineer who wants to share the adventures he has on weekends and on vacation. Hi everyone! When you're out ski touring or skiing in the backcountry, communication is one of those things you don't always think about until you really need it. Whether it's a route decision, regrouping, or just checking in, radios have become a pretty important part of my setup. And even more so when filming, because people are spread out and you're often way farther apart than you realize. And you simply cannot communicate with hand signals or by shouting. Quick disclaimer before we get into it. I am using the EU version of the Rocky Talkies, and that is the only version I have tested. The Rocky Talkies are also still fairly new to me. I have already used them on a few tours and filming days, but this is very much a first impression based on real backcountry use. If my opinion changes over time, I will definitely report back. So, in this video, I want to talk about my experience using Rocky Talkie radios for backcountry skiing, what I like about them and why I switched from my old radios. Radio massively improves safety and communication in the backcountry. Instead of yelling, waiting at transition or guessing where someone is, you can just talk. This becomes even more important when the terrain is complex, when visibility is not great, or when people are spread out over long distances. When filming, it is honestly a game changer. The skier, the filmer, and the rest of the group are often hundreds of meters apart, sometimes completely out of sight, and being able to communicate clearly just makes everything smoother and safer. Simple things like saying, "Dropping in 3, 2, 1," or "Wait, there is an issue with the camera," make a huge difference. The same goes for feedback about conditions, like saying there are a lot of sharks here or "Stay skiers right." That kind of communication reduces stress and helps avoid unnecessary risks. A good example is something that happened with Ola. She crashed, nothing serious, but instead of waiting around and then having to walk back up a line after a few minutes, I just turned on the radio.
Fallen, wait for me.
And that was it. No panic, no guessing, and no need to rush to find her. Those small check-ins make a big difference, especially in winter terrain where miscommunication can quickly turn into a problem. Rocky Talkie also publishes some range numbers, and while I have not fully tested the absolute limits, here is what they claim. In perfect line of sight conditions, the range is over 40 kilometers. In the mountains, you can expect roughly 1 to 5 kilometers. In forested or hilly terrains, the range is usually between half a kilometer and 3 kilometers. In a city environment, it is up to around 1.6 kilometers. I have not tried to push these radios to their maximum range on purpose, but in real backcountry use so far, I have never had a situation where the range was not enough for what we were doing. Rocky Talkie claims a battery life of around 3 to 5 days, depending on how much you use them. I have not fully tested the claim either, since I usually charge them pretty regularly. That said, I have used them for a full day and then again the next day without any issue, because I forgot to charge them overnight. In my case, I still try to charge them before every day in the backcountry, just to be safe, but it is nice to know that the battery can easily handle more than 1 day of use. One of the main reasons I am happy with Rocky Talkies is actually very simple: USB-C charging. My previous radios charged with micro USB, and honestly that was just annoying in 2026. it meant carrying an extra cable, remembering which charger was for what, and the micro USB always seemed the one to be forgotten. Now everything I carry, like my phone, cameras or drone, any battery packs, charges with USB-C, so the Rocky Talkies fit perfectly into that system. They are also very easy to use. They have big button, clear volume control and no complicated menus. That is something I really appreciate when it is cold, windy and I'm wearing gloves. They also feel and look tough from the first uses, but only time will tell how well they will hold up. Another big improvement for me is the weather resistance, especially when it comes to snow. The main body of the radio itself is rated IP56. That means it is splash-proof and snow-proof, but it is not designed to be submerged. For normal backcountry use like snowfall, wind and wet clothes, that is exactly what I need. The end mic is rated IP67, which means it is fully waterproof and can handle being submerged for a short period of time. With my old radios, the end mic would sometimes stop working after heavy snowfall or wet days. Snow would get inside, melt, and suddenly the mic just would not transmit properly. So far, the Rocky Talkie hand mic has been completely solid, even in snowy and wet conditions. If you are super weight conscious, you also have the option to leave the hand mic at home. The main radio body on its own weighs only 175 grams, which is totally reasonable for something that adds this much safety and convenience. Overall, the Rocky Talkie radios have been a really solid upgrade for my backcountry setup. They improve communication, increase safety and make filming days way smoother. As I mentioned at the beginning, the Rocky Talkies are still fairly new to me. Based on what I have seen so far, I'm really happy with them, but I will keep using them and report back if my opinion changes over time. As always, this is not sponsored, this is just my real world experience using them for backcountry skiing and filming. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more backcountry skiing, gear reviews and filming related content, consider subscribing to the channel. It really helps and you will not miss future updates. Thanks for watching! And let me know if you have any questions in the comments.